Whatever you have here is unholy and must be destroyed.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Strangeland channel. My name is Kenny and I'm here with my friend Stefan.
Hey everybody.
How's everyone doing today? Or how are you doing rather, Stefan?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah.
Another week.
Yeah.
We are here.
How's everyone listening doing? Let us know in the comments. Something that we never do, and I guess we should do it, but if you like our stuff, just subscribe to us. We never ask for subscribers, but it seems like maybe that works.
Smash the like button. Smash
Yeah.
the subscribe button if you're hearing this.
Yeah.
If you have a stepmom, tell your stepmom about us.
Yeah, she'll probably like it.
Probably.
That's the statistic, I think, right?
Yeah. That's our demo, stepmoms.
Yeah. I mean, at least, 30 to 50-year-old women, I think, are majority, but not everyone.
I was actually looking the other day. Our demo is a lot closer to split in half than I thought it was.
It's closer to in the middle.
We've gotten more men on the channel as time has gone on. So shout out to all the guys coming in.
Yep.
Thank you, and women. It's fine.
It's
you guys
everyone.
are great.
All right, so today we are going to Florida. The case is starting in Florida, and honestly, this is the most Florida man that has ever existed. He was actually a gigantic piece of shit. So,
Yeah, I mean, to say it lightly, true that. Kind of a crazy one this week. Got a real cool guy for you. On January 25th, 2019, Grant Amato murdered his father, Chad Amato, as well as his mother and brother, Cody. Now, the day before, on the 24th, Grant Amato, his father, and his brother would get into a very heated argument. The argument was one of many that the three family members would have with each other. This was because Grant, who was 29 at the time of the murders, had spent about a 3-month period talking to a Bulgarian cam girl. This girl who Grant believed was his girlfriend in some weird, twisted way. He had convinced himself of that, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, he believes that he had a real, legitimate, special relationship with this
cam girl. Yeah, he was really delusioned. He was very, I guess, delusional. I don't know about what their relationship really was. And I was reading just a minute ago, actually, how he was telling her that he really wishes that she would just send him stuff without him paying for it because it felt weird to him. And I think that kind of goes to show that I think in his head he really believed that they were boyfriend and girlfriend, right? And that she wasn't just a cam model that he was paying money to.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a lot with people too. Like, it's weird. People take advantage of, that goes without saying. I mean, people get taken advantage of all the time, but it's weird how people really do believe so deeply that, as long as someone tells them something they like to hear on the internet, they're so likely to just go along with the story. And but it's weird too, because during this time, he was in a chat with this girl, obviously, but with a whole bunch of other dudes as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about this later, but he had formed a special relationship even with the guys in the chat room as well. So it was like a weird, twisted family aspect to this. And I know we were talking before about how they were having arguments with each other. Now, the last argument would come about on January 24th, and it wasn't just because Grant was having some innocent relationship with a Bulgarian cam girl. It was because Grant had actually been on a downward spiral for many months here, and this was starting to boil over with his family. He was burning bridges very fast, spending a lot of money with this girl. The amount we will reveal later, but just know it had gotten out of control very, very fast.
Yeah, and it's like he said, it's a lot of money. So we're not gonna say it right now, but it will build up to it. But Grant was the youngest of three sons, the middle brother being Cody and the older brother being Jason. Jason was adopted at a young age, about 3 or 4 years old. Before Chad and Margaret, the mother, would have their own boys, they adopted Jason. They were all raised in Orlando, Florida, and seemed to have a pretty good upbringing. Grant and Cody were really into airsoft, video games, building computers, and also they were into real guns, not just airsoft. Their father, Chad, was also into guns as well. He wasn't really into airsoft or video games, obviously, but he was into guns. Grant was also really into anime. He was a registered nurse. He graduated from the University of Central Florida with a nursing degree, and he has worked at Orlando Regional Medical Center as an RN in the ECU until sometime in 2014. After this, he went to work at Florida Orlando Hospital, also as an RN. And in June 2018, he was arrested and fired from Florida Orlando Hospital for stealing drugs. This, of course, would be about 6 months or so before the massacre took place. He was not prosecuted on this, though, and I'm not 100% sure why. It seems maybe that his family had some type of pull on that. Grant claimed that he was stealing the drugs to give them to patients. He said the doctors were not properly medicating these patients. Staff told the officers that Grant had stolen $2,067 worth of propofol. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce that. Someone could say it in the comments. I'm sorry. And basically, he found this in some of the rooms that were under his care at the hospital.
From this point on, he wouldn't work a normal job again. He was unemployed, narrowly avoided jail time, and was playing video games most hours of the day, as well as obviously spending a lot of time with this Bulgarian cam girl. And he had the genius idea of trying to make a living off of Twitch. Not a uncommon dream here. But he was going to start streaming on Twitch, and he would, his thoughts at least, he would become famous streaming video games. We all know. We all know those people.
Yeah.
Now, he told investigators that he would play Fortnite, but I guess he wasn't good enough to beat the hordes of 12-year-olds, so, what are you going to do? The market is flooded. There's a million Fortnite players. I don't know where he was going with that.
The market for Twitch gamers, Twitch streamers, it says it's just as flooded as the market for true crime.
Right,
YouTubers, and true crime podcasts.
that goes for us as well. Yeah, it's crazy that we have the following we have, especially of how flooded this certain genre of podcast is. But even him, he couldn't make it as well. He got lost in the hordes of Fortnite streamers. He just didn't have the personality, I guess.
Well, and during the interview, he says to the investigators, to the interrogators, that he thought he was good enough and that he thought he had the personality to do it, but it just never took off.
Well, we all think we have the personality, right?
And it's funny because during the interrogations, there's a woman interrogator and there is a guy interrogator, and the guy, he says he doesn't know what anime is, the interrogator, and he says that he doesn't know what Twitch is or anything. He says he doesn't know any of these things, and I feel like he's just trying to get Grant to tell him about these really nerdy things, oh, anime? What's anime? He's like, well, it's Japanese cartoons, anyways.
Yeah.
I'm an adult, but anime is awesome.
I totally agree. During the beginning of the interrogation, they're definitely doing their whole good cop, bad cop type of. Type of move, trying to play dumb, trying to get him to open up, say anything, give any sort of information. And, he definitely offers up that he's a weeb.
Yeah.
He loves anime.
Yeah.
And which isn't a great defense. I mean, if I'm an investigator, guilty automatically for the anime comment. You're going to jail. And that's why I'm not a cop. I'll say that now.
All right, so in the middle of Grant trying to secure a place in Twitch history, that was when he started talking to Sylvie, who's the Bulgarian cam model that Stefan mentioned earlier. Yeah, like we said, it seems like he fell in love. He believed that she was his real virtual girlfriend. Yeah. He admitted to sending her thousands and thousands of dollars charged by the minute to chat with him. He explained how this worked in the interrogation videos, and we'll put a link to those in the description below if you want to check them out. They're interesting. He seems really normal, kind of. He admitted to speaking to her for about 4 hours a night, and that he had met her in early July of 2018. Now, again, we said he sent a lot of money to this cam girl, and when I first researched this case, and I first found out he sent a lot of money, I was thinking $2,000, $5,000, maybe $10,000 at the very most. I was like, $10,000 is a lot of money. But Grant Amato sent $200,000 to this cam model.
Yeah. 2,000 of whose dollars?
$200,000.
Certainly not his money.
No, we'll get into it. Yeah, where did it come from? I mean, he was asked by investigators, obviously, where this money came from, and Grant said, he starts off with saying me.
Right.
Anyways, he says, me, my brother, and my dad. That's what he says. And it's funny because, like, none of this money came from him, you know? It mostly came from his brother and his dad. And when asked how he was able to secure such a high amount, he told investigators that he would either steal the money or he would tell them he would tell his brother and his father it was for his streaming career. And honestly, I imagine that most of it was stolen somehow because, you know, you could probably get away with a few $1,000s saying, hey, let me borrow this money so I can build a new setup for the Twitch streaming and maybe some promotion or something. But other than that, most of it was stolen.
Yeah, and that's only going to work for so long. You know what I mean? Like lying to your family members, the people that are closest for you. They're only going to let that slide for so long until they truly understand what's happening.
Until they find out.
Know? Yeah, so he really wanted to appear rich and successful to this cam model, and I think it was because in the eyes of his brother and father, he was the opposite of rich and successful. Even though he was an RN, he could have made good money. He just didn't seem really like the working type.
Yeah.
That may be just me saying that, but
well, he had stolen all that money.
Certainly feels like that.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like he really started to get addicted to the attention that she was giving him, which isn't uncommon, honestly. That's how a lot of these people get addicted to cam models or, you know, whatever. But anyway, he also seemed to get addicted to the idea that he was actually rich and successful and doing all of this because it made him feel that way. And like even to a lot of the guys in the chat room, you start to see that as well. He like tries to posture and make himself seem like he's better than a lot of the dudes. What I'm trying to say is there's a clear hierarchy even in the chat. For Sylvie's chat, I mean, and it's pretty interesting to see the way he would act with interact with the other people. They very much made it seem like it was some weird family and dynamic. And
to go into that a little bit deeper, it's so basically he met this cam girl on this website. I can't remember the name of the website. I don't know if you do. But he met her on a website for cam girls and for men to meet cam girls. But it seems as if he was in a group with a bunch of guys. And to my understanding, I don't think there were any other women. Maybe there were. I couldn't really understand if that was the case or if it was just a bunch of guys in this group, in this chat, that were all spending money on the same cam model.
If there were other women, Grant certainly didn't mention that.
Yeah, he didn't mention it, but I think I was bringing this up. It seems like maybe there's a chance that he did at some point. I mean, $200,000. I have a feeling it probably wasn't all on one cam girl. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would say most of it was probably on her because he was very obsessed with her. But I'm sure some of it went to others as well. So
Yeah, totally agreed. In December 2018, Grant was reported missing to the police by his parents and his brother Cody. And the family told police that he was depressed and suicidal. Eventually, he was found at his aunt's house, and they had an argument about everything that was going on, including the fact that they had discovered the money that Grant had stolen from them in order to give to Sylvia. Now, eventually, he agreed to go on to an internet porn addiction center, or go to rather, and he was supposedly at the center for 60 days. Of work. Yeah, so he went into a rehab facility essentially to get himself right.
mm-hmm.
Now he got himself out of the facility after 2 weeks, and I guess he thought he was better at that point. Who knows what he was really thinking?
Yeah. Well, he basically convinced the doctor, and he faked being better. I mean, he didn't really think he was supposed to be there in the first place. So when after 2 weeks, he was done, and he was able to convince them that it was an isolated event and it wouldn't happen again. And honestly, it was one of those things where I don't think necessarily that they could hold him. It's not like he was in there against his will, so he could leave whenever they wanted, or whenever he wanted, rather. I think that's what happened. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and he would be returned to his family on January 5th, and 3 weeks later he would commit the triple homicide. So,
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. So when he got home, his father would allow him to stay there, but only if he would agree to follow a bunch of different rules. The rule list was, I believe, 2 pages long.
First rule, no Bulgarian cam girls.
Yeah. The very first rule on that list was to stop communication with Sylvie. In fact, while Grant was in the addiction center, his family had contacted the cam model, Sylvie, and told her the truth. Other rules on the list was that he would start applying for a job and earn money, and that he would not receive rather any more money from his parents or his brother. If he failed to do any of these things, especially the first rule, he would be cut off and kicked out of the house for good. For most of the time between him coming home from the center and the murders, his mother would believe he was actually getting better, or at least he was trying. That he was applying for jobs around the area, and that he was staying away from the things that he was addicted to. Unfortunately, that wasn't actually the case. It did seem like Grant was applying for jobs, and it seemed like maybe he could get back on track for the future. However, the main rule for Grant, he just couldn't agree with it, and he didn't abide by the rule of not speaking to Sylvie. Grant truly believed that Sylvie was his girlfriend, and therefore his parents were intruding with their love.
And that really shows.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, that's what he says. He believed that they were in love, and that the rule for them not to speak was simply unfair, and it didn't make sense to him,
Delusion.
It is very delusional, because she is,
She's doing her job. She's making money.
yeah, she's doing her job. She's making money, and it's unfortunate. But he was at the point in his life where he fell for it.
On January 24th, while brother Cody was at work, Chad the father had texted Cody and told him to come home from work and that something was wrong. When Cody was asked by his girlfriend, Sloane, what was wrong, Cody replied with, "Stupid fucking bullshit." Which, of course, we can all relate with that, right? At least I can. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Now, Sloane texted Cody at 9:43 and asked if he was okay, with Cody replying, "All okay, you don't need to worry." So this was the last time Sloane would talk to Cody. When Cody didn't show up the next morning, Sloane and a co-worker named Chris would call law enforcement to check up on him, which would eventually result in the welfare check being placed at the Amato home. Now, officers would come to the house and discover the bodies of Chad, Cody, and Margaret. All the victims were shot in the head, execution style.
Yeah, and Grant told the investigators that his father. No, yeah, so everything from here on is going to get kind of confusing. So Grant told the investigators that his father came home from work on the 24th, and they got into an argument because he had discovered that Grant was talking to the cam model again. Grant says the argument got physical, but Chad never struck him. Margaret stayed out of the argument as she was working in her home office. Grant said he then started to pack his stuff into his car because they were going to kick him out again. So he's getting all of his stuff ready. This is what he said happened. He's packing everything up. He's going to go wherever. He says that he left around 9 p.m. and was waiting for Cody to get home to talk to him before. When he talked to Cody, Grant claimed that Cody told him that he would smooth things over, that Cody would smooth things over with their parents.
And not to worry about it, I think was
Not to worry about, yeah.
Yeah.
None of what Grant said happened was true. There was no argument. Grant made it up. He killed his mother around 4:45 in the afternoon, and then he killed his father 30 minutes later as his father walked into the home after work. Grant then used his father's finger to unlock his phone and text Cody from his father's phone to tell Cody to come home because something was wrong. Grant waited 4 hours before he was able to kill Cody as well, as Cody was walking into the garage. He also texted Cody's girlfriend Sloan from Cody's phone telling her everything was okay, which was the text that Stefan mentioned earlier, all is okay, don't worry about it. That was actually sent from Grant from Cody's phone. And so, yeah, everything seemed okay on their end, but the next morning, like you said, it wasn't.
The morning the family was found, investigators called the eldest brother Jason to inform him that they had found 3 identified people in the house. Once they confirmed who it was, who was deceased, they asked Jason if he could think of anyone that might want to harm the family. He disclosed to officers the entire story behind Grant, and also that Grant had disclosed the family's home address to the cam model. And he was afraid that it was possible that he, Grant, meaning, owed her some sort of money. Now, sometime on January 25th, while investigators were conducting their investigation, Grant would return to his family home.
Yeah, and I suppose that he would pass the home when he actually returned home, and he saw police cars and a news van, and he just didn't stop. He knew what he had done, and he knew that they were in there investigating, so there's no way he's stopping. He would say that he did not want to know what happened. So he actually admitted going by the house and not stopping. And that's why he said he didn't stop. He just didn't want to go find out. And so instead of stopping, he would go to a Panera Bread that was nearby and use the Wi-Fi to search for big news stories for the area. And this is how he said he learned about the shooting in his neighborhood. And that he may have recognized the family home driveway in the news report. On the 26th of January, Grant's 1996 Honda Accord was found by a deputy of Orange County Sheriff's Office. He found the vehicle in the parking lot of a DoubleTree hotel. The cops went into the hotel and confirmed Grant was there, got the room number, and went to go talk to him. And he would eventually tell the false story that we talked about before, and obviously he was caught in multiple lies.
Yeah, his full interrogation is available online. I know it's worth checking out. This guy's so sketchy. It's so clear that he was so calm and collected. I just don't buy it.
So in the interrogation, he seems very normal. I mean, honestly, he seemed normal. He seems like a nerd for sure. He's a little nerdy. He might have maybe a little bit of something going on as far as his personality goes. He's not the most outgoing person, but he seems pretty normal, and he's talking about it like it's just he really is going with the story that he has. But to summarize real quick, I just want to summarize everything. He started talking to Sylvie, the Bulgarian cam model. He fell in love, thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend, thought they were the real thing. Even though he was spending $200,000 on her, over the course of about 4 months. And whenever the family found out, he went to the addiction center, he got out, he convinced them that he was okay, and they weren't having it. I think really what happened here is, it's hard to know if he snapped or if he just knew that he wanted to get them out of the way, because he believed possibly that if they weren't in the way, he would get money. I think in his head, he thought if they were dead and he wouldn't get caught, he would get their money, he would get the insurance money, and then he would actually be rich and successful. He would be rich and he would be successful because he could just make up any story he wanted about his success. And then he could actually win in his eyes Sylvie over, which would never happen. Even if he had gotten away with it and he had gotten all the money, there's no way. I mean, he would have just kept paying her until he was broke.
Right, yeah. The same outcome happens either way. You end up broke.
Yeah. But luckily he was not smart enough to get away with this. He was an idiot.
He never admitted to it either, by the way. He always denied it.
And if you watch, I'll put a link in the description for the court videos. And honestly, his brother Jason's testimony is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking.
Pretty sad.
I really like Jason, the brother. I really liked watching him speak. He was just you could tell he was just a very good person, and he lost his entire family. And it was just heartbreaking to watch him talk and say that he still loved his brother. Yeah, it's just sad. And all of this was because of a fucking cam girl and his obsession with her, And at the same time, it's like, I think a lot of people in the comments, I don't know. I don't know what people are going to say, but I feel like some people are going to blame her a little bit. And, the thing about it is, I don't really think that there's anything wrong necessarily with cam girls and people that pay them, but when you take it to such an insane level that it gets to that point, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the cam girl's fault, right?
Yeah,
for him being emotionally unstable and not being able to forge any real connections of his own. That strictly falls on him and his delusions. He was clearly, he thought, one thing we didn't mention here was that after he was imprisoned, he was in jail, he wrote an apology letter to the chat group of men that he was, familiar with from hanging out in Sylvie's chat. It was almost like with lack of a better term, a family dynamic is the only way I can describe it.
I'll put this letter, there's a link to the letter, I'll put it in the description. It is an insane read. I read it once while I was on break at work. I just read through the whole thing. It is really long. Again, we sort of mentioned how there was a group chat with a bunch of different guys and what seemed just like Sylvie. And they all sort of competed, but at the same time, they all sort of had this weird, oh, I love that you did that. Wow, watch me spend this money on her. Oh, wow, that was really nice, dude. I'm going to spend this money on her. I'm going to buy her these things. And some other guy was like, ooh, that was nice. Good job. I'm going to buy her these things. It was fucking weird, honestly.
Very cool.
Very strange. But here's what I'll say. I'm not going to say it, actually. Look.
Say it.
She did her... She's in 99.99% of cases, and how she works is she's just doing her job, making money in a way that she knows how.
Maybe too well.
And it was just unfortunate that it escalated to the point it did with this guy.
Yeah, she couldn't have known, right, that this guy was a psycho.
Yeah, and I've tried to find her anything about her saying any type of quote from her saying, "Oh my God, this is insane. I can't believe this happened." I can't find anything. I really want to know what she thought of it. I really want to know what she thought of what happened afterwards.
There has to be, I don't know. I mean, this is just me sort of thinking here, but like, it seems like you would have to have some sort of detachment, right? To like,
Oh, for sure.
make sense of all of this and all these weird, creepy dudes. It's probably a lot
But-
easier to detach and just be like, yeah, these guys are weird.
Yeah.
But
you
they're
don't-
paying the bills.
But unless you're a complete sociopath, I feel like this had to have affected her.
Agreed.
You know, like it had to have affected how she conducts. Maybe not. I don't know. It's crazy. But I'll link some stuff in the description below so you can check it out, like the letter and some other stuff. Just everything that you need to know to look through it. You know, I think we could have went into more detail about the actual trial, but I think we decided really not to. There's a lot to go over, and honestly, it was very obvious. Most of the trial that I watched, I really watched the victim statements, because the trial itself, for one thing, Grant didn't have a very good lawyer, in my opinion.
Go and watch the interrogations as well.
Yeah, I'll put that in the description. It's the interrogations of Grant.
Pretty damning.
It's interesting, but he's an idiot, so you know it is
True.
what it is.
And me.
We're gonna upload something to Patreon soon, so I'm gonna put a link for that in the description below too. You know, we'll figure out what Patreon will be and what the tier levels will be. Maybe just one. I don't know. We'll see.
Right now, it's just a shout out. But in the
Yeah.
comments, if you have any questions for us, let us know. We'll answer them in maybe a Patreon episode or something like that. I don't know. We're trying to diversify, so let us guys know, or let us know what you want. If I don't know, if you want something special.
Yeah, we'll try to upload something to Patreon, and at some point soon. And if you want to see that, we'll put the link in there, and you know, just pay us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just kidding. All right,
To do it.
I love you all.
Bye.
Bye.
The morning the family was found, investigators called the. Fuck! All right.
I should keep that.